partner comes outside and he's just like, "Are you guys rapping Biggie in the back of the bus?" And I'm like, "Yeah, did you hear that?" And I walk up and I look down and I make eye contact with the patient.
Okay.
And he just looks me dead in the face and he's like, "Don't let me die."
Wow.
Welcome to the Firehouse, the show dedicated to the brave men and women who serve our community.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Firehouse on WRHU 88.7 FM. I am your host, Chris Moses, and today, sitting with me in the Firehouse is none other than Brianna from the Mineola Volunteer Ambulance Corps. How are you?
How are you?
I'm good. I can't complain. Cannot complain. So, we got you here, and we got tons of questions for you.
I'm ready to answer them all.
All right. So just do me a quick favor. Just give them your full name and tell them, the company and the department and everything like that about you and how long you've been in.
Okay. So I'm Brianna.
Okay.
I have been part of Mineola Volunteer Ambulance Corps for the last 9.5 years, almost 10.
Okay.
I've
10
been
years. You got some stories.
Yeah.
You got some stories.
I currently hold the position as the president.
Okay.
This will probably be my last year in that position.
Okay. So we have
terms.
Ranks.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we'll get into all of that. We'll get into all that. But go ahead, keep going.
I have been a certified EMT for the last 10 years.
Okay.
I am currently recertifying, what I think might be the final time. And that's really it. I have some experience in the 911 system, worked in the city for a little bit.
Okay.
And I'm back to my home base now. I'm out of EMS, paid.
Okay. So all right. So we're gonna get into all of that. But I want to start from the beginning. Like, what makes you want to join and start doing that type of work? That EMS, EMT, volunteering to do this.
Yeah.
What makes you want to start this? Like, so let's start from the beginning.
So EMS was never my plan.
Okay.
Never was my plan. No. I grew up in a middle class family, like a lot of other people.
Okay.
A lot of my family members are first responder. They're in law enforcement.
Okay.
So it was always preached to us from a really young age. You got to do something where you'll always have a job. You'll always be employed. You essentially needed to have a job where you're essential, right?
That's right.
In order to make a living and produce for your family.
That's
So from a very young age, we were told to go out, take all the civil service exams you could possibly take.
Okay.
And I said, all right, awesome. I had a very soft spot for healthcare. I kind of grew up watching my grandmother have a couple of medical struggles.
Okay.
So we spent most of our time in and out of the hospital with doctor's appointments and stuff. And she was my closest person. So I kind of knew I wanted to do something.
You wanted to kind of help out in that capacity.
Yeah.
Doing that. Okay.
And seeing all the nurses and the doctors
Yep.
and the paramedics showing up to the house kind of just for me was I want to do and give back the way that they do and give back every single day.
Yeah.
So I was on the track to go to nursing school.
Okay.
I was like, I'm going to be in healthcare. I was
Nurses are no joke, man. They got skates on all day long.
They're
But go
doing
ahead.
it. And I was like, this is awesome. I was working while putting myself through nursing school.
Okay.
And kind of was working 2 jobs, not making a ton of money. And I had a friend at the time who said to me, who was working for the FDNY as an EMT, said to me, why don't you just go become an EMT, work your 3 or 4 shifts a week, make some decent money, and put yourself through nursing school and finish school on the other end, on your days off. And I was like, sounds like a good job. Yeah. I was like, okay, sounds perfect.
That's a plan. Okay.
Take the EMT course. Halfway through the course, I'm like, oh, this is it. I'm like, this is great. I had my rotations done. I was like, here it is. Got out of that, immediately went and started volunteering. I lived in Queens at the time, so I volunteered for a volley that was in Queens that they just buff jobs all day.
Wow.
So I was like,
yeah, because how is that in Queens?
So different.
Yeah, because you have FDNY.
Yeah. So it was
so they don't get dispatched?
No, we would listen to the FDNY radio and buff their jobs to try to beat them in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was interesting. A lot of fun. Did that for a little bit. And then I was like, all right, I need to get a real job now in EMS. Started doing some transport stuff and then eventually got hired by Northwell. Worked for their center of EMS.
Okay.
And did that for 7 years.
Wow.
And that was home base. And after I got my first job, I was like, this is it. I'm never looking back. ended up finishing my associates in college, thank God. But never went back. Didn't want to go back to nursing school.
That was it.
This was it.
You was like,
I was stuck. I fell in love.
I want to be in the field. I want to be in there. Yeah. Okay.
It was the adrenaline.
There you go.
Every day.
Never know what you're going to walk into. And we're going to talk about some stories because 10 plus years, because technically you're saying 10 years, but it's more than that.
Yeah.
It's more than that. It's like 20 years from what you're saying. If you were 7 years there, this year, plus there, you've been in, altogether, what? 20, like
10, almost 11.
Almost 11 altogether. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, go ahead. So let's keep going.
So that was it. For me, I was done. And my family was like, okay, great. At this point, I was probably like 19 years old, 20. And my family was like, you're in EMS, you're doing it. Take the civil service exam. And I was like, okay, great. Appeased everybody, took the FDNY test.
Of course, they called you.
Right. They called me. I decided I was already at Northwell. It wasn't worth it for me. I loved where I was. I had made a bunch of friends that were at that point family.
Yeah.
And, the pay in EMS, where you go, depending on private versus the city,
Very true.
is
Very
different.
true. Yeah.
So, I was like, I'm making good money, and this is where I'm going to stay. So I stayed at Northwell. Yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm here.
Had the luxury to work between the city. So like Manhattan Central is like a lot of people know it's like Times Square, like Penn Station type of area.
Okay.
Worked there for like 6 or 7 months. Worked on Queens West.
And this is through Northwell.
Through Northwell.
That you're working there. So that means that's Lennox that you probably was going
Greenwich
to.
Village,
okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Go ahead.
So did that for 6 months while I was first hired there.
Okay.
Then kind of settled in to the Queens East area for all the listeners that know what that is.
Okay.
That's the South Jamaica, Hollis, St. Albans area.
Okay.
So down by like the airport and stuff like that. And spent the last, I would say, 5.5 years there.
Okay.
Settled into my unit.
Okay.
If you work for the FDNY or you work in the 911 system, you kind of know my voice. 5'3" Adam.
Okay, there you
go. For a very long time. I was 5'4" George before that for 4 years.
Okay, so explain what that means when you say 5'4" George versus Adam. What does that mean?
Those are identifiers.
Okay.
In the city, every unit gets an identifier, and Northwell was given a handful of identifiers, and the area that you cover was like 5'4" is the station 54 for FDNY.
Okay.
So we were kind of the south area of Queens is like the best way to describe that. And then on 5'3" Adam, I came a little bit further.
Okay, so you're further out. Okay,
yeah,
okay, got you.
To like the Queens area.
Got you.
Then we are further into South Jamaica. So you kind of just get an identifier. You get on your truck every day, and that's your area. Obviously, we get pulled wherever we get pulled, but that was your unit.
Okay.
So I worked 5'3" Adam. That was where I was very comfortable. I loved it.
There you go. Comfortable. I'm good to go. I'm not going anywhere.
So I did that for a really long time.
Okay.
I love that. I miss it.
Oh, okay. All right.
But it was just day to day. I would work my 3 days a week. And then the following week, I'd work my 4 days.
Okay.
Very busy area. In the summer, we're very busy. There's a lot of trauma jobs.
A lot of stuff going on.
Yeah,
we're gonna get into those stories. We're gonna get into those.
Yeah, you're lines up by a very busy area. Surrounded by a bunch of great people, great units.
Yeah.
So it's a good area to work if you want some experience. Yeah,
you want to learn and you want to get that. So let's bring it to where does MVAC come in? Like, where does that come in to all of this?
So
over 50 years, Fire News has been the preferred publication for fire, rescue, and EMS heroes. Fire News print edition reaches Long Island, 17 states, and the District of Columbia. Visit firenews.com to see the latest news, read their digital prints, or follow them on Facebook and Instagram pages. In print, online, on social media, Fire News has you covered. Visit firenews.com. And if you go ahead and go visit on Instagram, please leave a comment and tell them that WRHU 88.7 The Firehouse sent you. Talking here.
MVAC came in before Northwell.
Okay.
So I needed experience.
Okay.
To get hired at Northwell, you needed like some solidified 911 experience.
Okay.
And I had said, like, I'm looking for a volley agency. I was still living in Queens at the time.
Yeah, because I was going to ask, what made you pick Mineola? Like, what made you pick that?
I was working for a company called EAS. A lot of people know it. That's kind of where they start. That's like the base.
That's like where everyone.
Transport, yeah. 95. I would say 95% of people know that that's where you start.
That's where you start.
It's just transports pretty much all day.
Okay.
MVAC had a contract with EAS at the time where they would put ALS providers. So I would work with the medics on the transport end.
Okay.
And then they would go work a shift at MVAC and do their 911 stuff. So I had worked with a medic, and he was like, oh, you know, if you need 911 experience, why don't you apply to Mineola VAC? And I was like, what is that? Like, I'm a girl from Queens. I don't know what that is.
What do you mean? Yeah. What does that mean? Yeah.
So he like explained the whole thing, gives me the whole rundown.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. I'm like, awesome. So I go in one night, pick up an application, fill it out, and I drop it off. And as I like drop it off, they're like, can you sit down right now and take an interview? And I'm like,
if that ain't the volunteer services, then what is? Like, wait. Where you going? Come back. Let's do this now.
Don't look out the door. We're desperate. Come on, let's go.
Get over here.
We need
like,
new
stop.
members. Yeah. No, so they very welcoming. They were all kind of just hanging out. Their chiefs were there. Some of their other officers were there, and they were just like, hey, can you sit down right now and do an interview? And
let's do it.
I was like, yeah, all right, cool.
Not realizing what this is yet. So you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, I'm like,
I don't need to get an interview and do all of this. You're like, wait,
I'm
what?
like, this uniform is okay.
Yeah, like I'm in here just to drop this off.
Yeah, so they were like, sit down, asked me a bunch of questions, learned a little bit about me. And I'm like, it was just like a big conversation.
Yep.
It was not like it was formal, but it was a big conversation. It didn't feel uncomfortable. Like sometimes interviews have that.
Yeah, you're not sure this. It was more of a conversation. Like
big conversation.
You start feeling that hometown feeling that the volunteer services give you. But go ahead.
They were cracking jokes with each other. They're cracking jokes with me. And I'm like, all right, this is awesome. So I get a call a couple of days later, and they're like, all right, come down. You know, we voted on you at the meeting.
Okay.
You're in. And I'm like,
and you're like, wow.
Oh, okay. That was fast. I'm like, awesome. So I go down, do my orientation. They're talking about like all the training that they go through. And this is a different aspect than how I knew EMS, right? Yeah. So I'm like, oh, training's cool. Okay. Didn't know how involved like the training was.
Yep.
Didn't know that like they want you to like learn how to do the skills correctly. If you don't know, you're going to learn new things. You're going to continue learning from people that have 20, 30, 40 years of EMS experience.
Eons. Yep.
Yeah. That like they were doing it before you were even born, some of our members.
Literally.
Yeah. So it was a big eye opener, I think, for anybody that like, especially me, that I was just getting into EMS at that point. So I settled in. The first year I was there, I held the top responder position as the year.
Look at you go. Look at you go.
Which meant a lot of time living in the volley house.
That's right. That's right. You got to be there for those calls. If you're going to get the top responder, you got to be there for them.
And it was a little different because I was living in Queens. I would come down and do like a duty crew.
Okay.
So it was awesome. I would like pick my days.
And these are the days I'm here.
Yeah. I would, and it could be different every day. I mean, the first almost 2 years, I lived at MVAC almost every single day. Any moments of free downtime that I had, I was there. But I loved it. It was getting on the truck, getting on the bus all the time and hanging out with everybody. And I started to build a sense of like family.
There you go.
It was, we have a very serious job to do. You're providing aid for people that really need it in their lowest moments, in their lowest time.
That's right.
And you're kind of like the calm to the storm, which for me felt really good.
That's right.
It felt like I was really making a difference. And I think a lot of people don't really know until they're in the position
until it happens to you. And I talked about that once on this show, that you don't realize how much and the amount of professionalism that EMTs have, even if they know you. Because I went down on a motorcycle and it was Uniondale that came and got me. Yeah. And it was just like the amount, and this is, like you said, the lowest moment, you know, I'm down, I can barely talk, I'm in and I'm out, I'm in pain. And the professionalism, the just talking and calm, and literally that calm. Yeah. I love the way you put that, because that's what it is. You are that calm during that whole thing. You're keeping them, because if we're all panicking, what do we have here? Yeah. No matter how bad it is, you're calm. Like you see, I can imagine the things you see, and you still got to be like, don't worry about it. We're good.
It's all fine here. Yeah. So I think the way that I kind of think about it in my brain is that like nothing else matters.
Okay.
For the 20 minutes, the 30 minutes that we have this person with us, my bad day doesn't matter. Your bad day doesn't matter. It's their problem and their problem only right now.
Yep.
That's my main focus, making their situation better. And it kind of helps me like block out all the noise that I have going on in my brain, right? Because I'm still a person. And
still human. You got things going on too.
Yeah. Maybe I'm having a bad day, but that doesn't matter to me once we get into that ambulance and like close the door. All that noise goes away.
It goes away, and you start taking care of business. So let me ask you a question, because we kind of shot out a lot of terms. We shot out EMT. You said ALS. You said medics. Can you explain what that is to the listeners that don't know? Like, what's what? Where's the ranking? You know, you start here. Just kind of explain all of that.
So the way that it kind of works is the very first baseline would be like a CFR, which is what most of your basic firemen are, right?
Right. Certified first responder. Got you.
Certified first responder. Okay. Their job is to do CPR, first aid, right? Basic first aid. So like help stop the bleed, stuff like that.
Okay.
Then right above that, you have a EMT-B, which is an EMT basic.
Okay.
So it's an emergency medical technician basic. So that job, which is my job, is to provide the most basic life-saving care we get, right? So like we handle CPR, we handle the bleed, stop the bleed, we handle basic medications, we're able to help patients stop, having an allergic reaction, you breathe for the patient, you give them basic medication.
Okay.
And then a step above that is a paramedic. Or an EMT-P, which is pretty much the same thing, but they do so much more. So they do all the basic levels that an EMT-B, like a regular EMT does.
Okay.
But then they add in, I would say, more complicated life-saving measures, right? They're able to intubate a patient. They're able to.
And this is all on the field. This is
all in the field.
All in the field that this is happening.
All in the field, in someone's house, in the back of the ambulance. I mean, cramped in a car. You name it. We've seen it. It's been done.
It's got to get it done. Yeah.
They do more life interventions, right? They put intubation tubes in people. They start IVs. They give medications. They can restart a heart by giving medications and shocking. We can, help out with that. But as a paramedic, it's their hands are in it. They're doing the dirty work, really. And they just kind of take everything. I like to say they like take it up a notch, right?
Okay.
So they know what they're doing and why they're doing it. And then they say like, okay, we have all these tools in our tool bag and which one fits best. Whereas like an EMT-B, a basic or a regular EMT, we're kind of like just treat and transport as best as we can, get it as stable as we can to get to the hospital as quickly.
To hand off to the hospital.
The higher level of care.
Okay.
The paramedics have the option of coming in saying like, okay, we can make this really stable or as stable as we possibly can and make this transport a very comfortable one and not as emergent, right? So, let's say you go to a job and the patient's in cardiac arrest. They're able to start an IV, give medications. They're an extension of the doctors, essentially, at the hospital.
Of the hospital, right? Yeah. So they're basically the doctor on the field almost, right?
Pretty kind of, that's a good way of explaining it. Yeah. They're doing a lot of things that could be done in the emergency room in like a fourth of the space.
Yeah, wow.
In the back of an ambulance. Yeah, and
back
busy.
of a car, wherever it is.
Bouncing around at like 40, 50 miles an hour.
I was going to say that. Just for EMTs, anything, you all are working while they're driving. And I've driven the bus many times, and I'm driving it like it's a fire truck. I'm moving. I'm boom, 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 boom. How, like, I'm let's keep going because I got so many questions. I get so excited. I got so many questions. So let's keep going. So go ahead. So you're going through the levels.
Yeah. So then obviously it just goes up from there, right?
Yeah.
There's critical care paramedics, which is so much more in depth than that. And then you get that flight medic, which they get to fly in the helicopter, which coolest thing in the world. If you've ever seen it done, it's fantastic. But it just goes up in ranks,
and it
right?
keeps going. It keeps going.
Yeah. And the care just becomes more in depth. Each time they become the medic or the EMT, and each level you go up, they can provide more for the patient.
Gotcha.
But 9 times out of 10 when you're calling 911, you're getting me.
Yeah.
You're getting the EMTB, the basic. Not that we are basic, but we're doing as best as we can. It's what's around, right? Yeah. But we call for help, and that's when the paramedics step in. Yeah.
So another question of like, With MVAC, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had said that you're currently president.
I am.
So explain the rankings, like, because, in the fire department, we have lieutenants, then we go up, we have captains. So you don't have that?
We do.
So you have that and that, right?
So we have both. It's a little bit different since we're not part of the fire department.
Okay. Yes, and we got to talk about that. So before we even get into that, just explain that, right?
Yeah.
Because that's important to know, because you're not a part of Mineola FD.
No.
Right.
So shout out to the guys at MFD.
Yes.
We love them over there.
We love you.
But we're separate. We're a corporation.
Okay.
So we don't receive tax dollars, village money, like funding, as far as like when a lot of fire departments are incorporated with their village. You live in the area, the residents of the area pay taxes towards the fire department, and then that money goes towards the funding.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit different with MVAC. We're a corporation, so we rely on like insurance and donations.
Wow. Grants? The grants?
We
or
do
anything?
grants. Yeah,
okay,
we get a bunch of grants, which are very nice. They help out. They help maintain the ambulance. That's how we keep our ambulances running. That's how we get ambulances, believe it or not. Through grants.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Grants and billing for insurance, but obviously insurance doesn't pay out a whole lot.
Of course,
Yeah. But donations are a huge thing for us. So we rely on grants, donations.
So there's a whole sector of that corp that's doing that, that's getting the grants, that's running insurance.
That's what we do. That's my job, essentially.
So you do that too?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the way that it works is like the fire department, we have so we have an executive board, we have a board of directors, which is the board that I sit on, and then we have a board of commissioners. So let's work from the top down, essentially.
Okay.
The commissioners oversee both boards. Their job is to look at the really big picture. They help run the business. They kind of figure out what's going on, how to deal with members, how to deal with member retention, what they steer the department in the best direction.
Okay.
All
right.
Then you the executive board and the board of directors. Your executive board is just like any other firehouse, right? You got your chiefs. We have a first chief of operations. We have a first assistant chief, a second assistant chief. Under them is the captain.
Okay.
And then we have 2 lieutenants that sit underneath that.
Okay.
And we have a safety officer in there as well. And then a safety
officer. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's kind of the ranking. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And then the board of directors. You have the board of directors' job is to handle like the business end of the VAC, essentially.
Okay.
So it's my job to do like PR, and my job to like do fundraising and make sure that the building isn't falling apart.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is all in with running calls.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Keep going. I'm like mind blown. But go ahead.
We do like all that stuff. So the way that works is we have a president, a vice president. I have a secretary, and then I work hand in hand with the executive board. So the chief of operations sits on the board of directors as like an advisor. He kind of tells me what's going on. Mm-hmm. Not that I wouldn't know, because I still run calls and stuff. how our plan is and where we're going with operation stuff. So it's his job to handle all the training and handle all of the member stuff.
Okay.
But the board of directors, we work together. We
all
hold
work
hands.
together
Yeah.
and kind of, in sync. All I can say is first, I'm pretty sure the listeners, wow.
Yeah, it's a lot.
In all of this, you're still running calls.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So how do you do all of that and then have a job?
It's really good organization, I think. And I don't do anything alone. I have like a lot of helping hands over at MVAC. Like the chief does a lot. He helps out a lot. My VP, he's a younger guy, he's in college.
Okay.
He helps out a lot.
Okay.
So he definitely, we work together.
The team effort,
just
and
works.
that's what makes it. That's what makes it happen.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, the calls always come first.
Of course.
The patients always come first.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're in the middle of a meeting, and a call comes over, it stops. Yeah. Pause.
Take it just like any other first responder.
Yeah.
It stops. This
and
is
go.
And you go. All right. So, over 10 years, EMS, running these calls. Brianna, I know you have some stories.
Yeah. So many.
What stories do you got? Give me at least a good 2 stories of some real good stuff that you've encountered and seen.
I would say that probably most of my time in the city was the best time. Like
give me some stuff.
So I think that for everybody it's a little bit different in EMS, right?
Okay.
Some people love the gore and love,
because I can imagine you're seeing that stuff.
The blood, yeah. Some people love that, and some people love like the more medical end of stuff.
Okay.
For me,
which one is it?
It's the gore.
It's the
It is, unfortunately. I mean,
people
look at me like I'm crazy. I like the intensity.
Okay.
And when it comes to like blood and time management, it's all fast paced. There's no stop. So for me, that's what does it for me.
That's what does it.
Yeah.
Yep. You got to keep moving. Let's go.
Yeah.
All right. More blood, the more I got to stop this. So
exactly. And the quicker I need to get to the hospital.
That's right. Okay.
So I, a couple of years ago, I would say almost close to like 2.5 years ago. It's a really hot summer night.
Okay. Talk to me.
It's
anything that starts a real hot summer night is gonna be good. Go ahead.
I'm jumping on the truck for the start of the tour.
Okay.
And I'm with my steady partner.
Okay.
He's amazing. He fantastic. Loved working with him, and that's what makes your shift, right? A partner.
It's who you work with, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Starts out as basic. Any other day, we're like, what are we doing as far as coffee? Where are we eating tonight?
That's more important at this moment now. Let's get the night set right. Yep.
Let's drive to the area, and then we'll go from there. So we drive to where we normally sit in the city. It's called WRHU, so it's kind of like your posted spot for the night. And it's where you sit most of the time. So we're headed towards our WRHU, and in South Jamaica, it's busy in the summer.
Okay.
There's a lot of people out. There's a lot of cars out. Everyone's hanging out outside of the storefronts. Everybody's hanging out in front of their homes. Busy night already.
It's hot. It's hot outside.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I look over at my partner and I'm like, oh, it's busy.
Okay.
And he's like, yeah, let's try to get something to like at least eat and drink first. Great. We don't even make it there. We don't even make it to our first, meal idea or drink. So we get a call, and it comes over as a psych patient, takes us all the way to the other side of Queens. We get canceled. PD was able to take care of the situation before we got there.
Okay.
So we're headed back, and I hear a bunch of units getting dispatched for trauma jobs and MVAs on the highway. And I'm like, okay, now this means that there's barely any units in our area, because those are all units that are surrounding us.
That they're calling for.
That they're calling for, yeah. So I say to him, like, let's try to shoot back towards the area a little bit faster than we normally can, because if it's that busy, we know we're getting hit next. We're up. We get maybe 5 minutes closer into the area, and we get called for a shot. And I'm like,
Wow.
it's too early for this. Like, what is going
shooting
on?
this early?
Yeah, I'm like, who's shooting at each other at literally 8 o'clock at night? I'm like,
at night,
yeah.
8 o'clock
I'm
at
like,
night.
who's shooting at each other at 8 o'clock
People
at
still
night?
walking around. It's still
It's light outside. Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
So we get there. There's no shot. PD's like, they left.
Before we even move, you get this call that someone's shooting.
Mm-hmm.
You got to respond to this.
Yeah.
What's going through your brain at this moment? Are you worried? Like, is your focus that person that shot? Like, what is your focus? Because I'm thinking, I come on the scene, I'm worried, is there anybody else shooting? Right? So, like, what's going through your brain at that moment?
My first thought is always my safety and my partner's safety.
Okay.
We came in together. We're going home.
Okay.
That's just what I think of immediately. He's got a family. I got a family. We're going home. Then the next thing is, okay, is the scene secure? Right?
Okay.
That's everybody makes the joke.
Yes, I know. I remember doing that. Is the scene safe?
Yeah,
is the scene
scene
safe? But that's a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to make sure.
Is there anybody else left around that wants to hurt anybody else, hurt me, hurt my partner, anything? So we're kind of making sure that PD's on scene first. PD was there.
Okay.
It said it in the job notes, PD on scene, and they're stating, whatever's going on. PD's giving an update to their dispatcher's giving an update to ours.
Yes.
So we kind of know what's going on a little bit before we get there, but I'm still heightened and still aware and still thinking, like, we got to be safe.
That's right.
So we get the call, we're headed there, and now as we're driving, I'm thinking, okay, what are my protocols? I'm running them down through my head. I'm talking to my partner. I'm like, all right, I'll grab the trauma bag. You grab the stretcher.
Okay.
Let's get into a more secure area, which for me, safety is my ambulance. So I'm like, let's just grab the patient, do what we can for 2 minutes, get in the back of the ambulance. We could lock ourselves in the bus. We're safe, right?
There you go. If anything happens,
God
we can always
forbid.
do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we get there, and I'm looking around, and the cops, you can tell, like, they're kind of frantic and, like, it's busy. It's hectic, right? And there's always chaos. And that's when the mode switches for me.
Yeah, because now you're getting worried. You're like...
Yeah, it switches for me. It switches for a lot of people. That's when, like, you have to take a second, step back, and take a deep breath in and be like, this is going to be okay. I'm the calm to whatever is going on.
I love that, because that's the most important, that I'm the calm of what's going on. But go ahead, keep going.
So I get out, I grab the bag, and I'm looking around, looking for direction from the police officers that are on scene, and they're like, the guy's gone. And I'm like, oh, all right. Somebody came, put him in a car, took him to the hospital already.
Oh.
I'm like, all right.
Somebody did my job.
Yeah, my job's done. I hope that person's okay, but like, my job's done.
Yeah.
Call is done, essentially. We clear up, we go available, we're ready for the next one, right? Not even 2 minutes later, we get hit with a stabbing.
Wow.
A block and a half away. So we're like, here we go.
It's going to be one of those nights.
Yeah. So we get to where we're going. It's on, a main road, main street in Queens, on Jamaica Avenue. And there's just chaos erupting from this bar.
Wow.
I'm like, what is going on? So we get there. There's no law enforcement on scene. I'm not getting out of the truck.
I was just about to say that. There's no law enforcement.
Because they're busy doing the other job.
Yeah.
And they got this job now at the same time that we got this job. So I say to my partner, I'm like, let's just wait. Just give it a minute.
Okay.
They got to be coming.
They got to be on their way. Yeah.
So 2 minutes later, they flood the scene.
Okay.
Full of cops at this point.
Okay.
And now I'm like, all right, give them another 30 seconds to kind of grab control of the scene.
Okay. Okay.
So we jump out. The cops are waving us in, and I grab the trauma bag this time, gloves already on, and I walk up to the front of this bar, and there's a guy laying on the ground with an officer holding his neck. And I'm like, oh no. And
blood everywhere.
Everywhere. All over the officer, all over the ground. Everywhere. People forming. I couldn't see what was going on.
Because people are now watching. Everyone's watching, cameras out.
Top. Yeah. Standing on top of this guy, standing on top of the cops. So I walk up and I look down and I make eye contact with the patient.
Okay.
And he just looks me dead in the face and he's like, don't let me die.
Wow.
And for someone that has never heard those words before, it feels like the life drains out of you. Because now this person is relying on you to live another day. Yeah. And like, it sounds a little less scary than it is when you hear it for the first time.
I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, but.
So like, he's like, don't let me die. And I'm like, I'm going to do the best we can.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're going to try. Let's try together. And he's just looking at me and I'm like, what hurts? And he's like, he like cracks a joke in this moment. And that one is when I just like, was like, oh, okay, this is how serious it is. Like when patients start making jokes in their lowest time, you're like, oh, we really got to work fast because now that's stress. Their body's trying to push the stress out in a different way. Yeah. And he says, oh, my neck. And I'm like, okay. Put him on the stretcher. The cop's looking at me and the cop's like, I can't let go because he's bleeding really bad. Yeah. I'm like, okay, well then move your hand. Let me hold on to his neck and help my partner. We'll get him into the ambulance. Mm-hmm. Get the patient into the ambulance. And he's starting to lose some color in his face.
Yeah, he's losing blood.
Blood all over the stretcher. There's, I'm like, are you stabbed anywhere else? Are you hurt anywhere else? And he's like, no. Mm-hmm. I lift my hand and I take a look at his neck and I could see he's squirting blood. So they nicked his carotid. Yeah. When they I guess whoever or whatever happened before I got there was maybe a bar fight, it seemed like. And somebody decided that
they were going to pull something.
They were going to do the worst that they could possibly do to this guy. So I'm like, okay, this is a hard area to stop. You can't put a tourniquet on.
What do? You just pressure, basically,
pressure.
Right?
Yeah. So, and I got other things to do in the back of the ambulance, but I don't want to stay here much longer because there's only so much we can do, right? There's only so much that the paramedics can do. The paramedics, even if I call for them and I'm begging for them and they come and they show up, there's only so much that they can do.
You got to get to the hospital.
Yeah, he needs an OR. Yeah. He doesn't need me. He needs an OR and a surgeon and a doctor. Yeah. And blood, tons of blood.
Okay.
So I say to the officer, because now I got the cop in the back of the ambulance, my partner's ready to go. He's already in the front. I'm like, we're going to get him to stop bleeding as best as we can. And we also want the patient to stay awake, right? Mm-hmm. So now I say to the cop, I'm like, hold this pressure here on his throat. I'm giving him more gauze to create almost like a pressure bandage to just keep as much tension and weight on that vessel, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, but talk to him. And I got to do a million other things. I got to cut his shirt off, take his pants off. I got to check his blood pressure. I got to check his oxygen, see if he needs anything else. I still have a job to do. Nothing. I can't just stop and focus
just
on
hold
this
on
one
that
thing.
because there's things to do.
Right. Yeah. I have to let the hospital know that we're coming and I need somebody to be ready when I get there.
So that takes time. But so I can't hold this and do all of that. So, wow, okay.
I wish I had 8 arms. Yeah. I wish I was an octopus. In that moment, I had never wished for anything more.
Yeah,
But I couldn't stop and just focus on that.
Yeah.
So
Jobtown Graphics is your go-to for custom prints, t-shirts, patches, stickers, and more, turning your creative ideas into reality. Owned and operated by a firefighter, they bring dedication and precision to every project. Whatever you can imagine, they can produce. Visit them at Jobtown Graphics on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Drop a comment if you go on Instagram and tell them that WRHU 88.7 The Firehouse sent you. Yeah.
So I say to the officer, I'm like, hold this, do exactly what you were doing before. I'm like, but keep him awake. And he looks at me like I got 10 heads. And I'm like, okay, do you know how to keep him awake? And I'm like, just keep him talking. Talk to him.
Yeah.
Talk about sports, talk about whatever. And the patient's just staring at us. He's in a moment of shock. And I'm like, do you have a family? Tell me about your family, sir, as I'm taking his blood pressure. And he's telling me he's got kids, he's got a family, he's got a girlfriend, the whole 9, right? And he's like, I just came out to meet up with my friends, telling me the story. I'm like, all right, great. Let's talk about something else. So I turned to the officer and I'm like, anything, please. As I'm taking his vitals, cutting his clothes off, checking, make sure he's not stabbed or shot or anything anywhere else. Make sure that that's the only issue that I got to take care of. And the officer starts rapping with him. He's like, do you like Biggie? Tupac or Biggie? And in the moment, I kind of just like froze.
You're
and was
wait, what?
Where am I? It was almost like a snap back to reality that there was still such a human aspect to like what I was dealing with in that moment. Like you become a robot in the back of the ambulance.
Because you're just doing, and that kind of like snapped you out of it. Like this is,
So I look over at the patient and he's got a smirk on his face and he's like, Biggie. I'm like, all right.
All right.
So the cop and him start rapping Biggie songs. They start singing Biggie songs. And I'm just in the back of the ambulance doing what I got to do, call a note. We get to the hospital. Thank God he stayed awake the whole entire time.
Wow.
And I really, really, really do believe that made a huge difference in an outcome on his care and like what ended up happening for him.
Wow. So he made it?
Yeah, he made it. So he made it. So we get to the hospital, give off report to the nurses and the doctors, and they're just in shock that he's still awake.
Wow.
And still talking. They immediately take him up to the OR. We're cleaning up the back of the ambulance. The cop is upstairs with him. They ended up, everything settles down.
Okay.
I'm cleaning up the mess in the back of the
Yeah,
ambulance.
because that was the other thing I was going to ask.
Destroy.
All that, I mean, you got to hose this thing down.
Yeah, we wipe it all down. We clean it all up. I mean, sometimes when you open up the back of the door, there's pictures on it online. You can see it.
Okay.
You open up the back of the door, there's paper everywhere. There's blood everywhere. There's garbage everywhere. That's what the bus looks like.
Yeah.
So I'm cleaning it all up. And that's when you start to like come down and decompress from your call.
Yeah.
And it's hot, sweaty. It was like 99 degrees outside that night. I'm in a heavy uniform. I'm in, my job shirt, my
gloves, the whole 9
gloves,
yards.
Tech pants. My partner comes outside and he's just like, are you guys rapping Biggie in the back of the bus? And I'm like, yeah, did you hear that? And he was like, yeah. And he said, what was that about? I said,
y'all are literally in the back. It was all a dream.
Yeah.
I know he's driving like, what?
Yeah. He's like, what's going on? So I'm like, yeah, the cop, I told him to talk to him and he just was like rapping Biggie. I finished cleaning up and I sit on the bench and I'm like, ugh. It's done, right? I'm like, that's as bad as it could be for the night.
Yeah.
And in that moment, it just made me realize that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing because it just felt so good to know that 20 minutes that I was in the back of the ambulance with that patient, it was less, of course, but like the 20 minutes that we were together was life-saving and changing. And like, do I think that I did everything that changed his life and saved his life? No. I helped. The officer helped a ton.
You kind of did, but
right. I mean, but to be humble,
yeah. No, I understand. Everyone, it was a team effort to get it all together. You couldn't, without your partner, it wouldn't have mattered because you couldn't get there.
I wasn't going anywhere.
You wasn't going anywhere without him talking to him. So it's a team effort to get this going to save this person's life.
So it was just all good. But I sit down and I said to my partner, I'm like, is that why we do this? I'm like, is that why you do this? And he's like, yeah, every day. Loved it. And he had a whole career.
Wow.
Left finance, whole career before that. Like, he was in marketing, left all of that and came into EMS because he started out as a firefighter. And he was like, this is what I do it for. Like, and it was nice to know that we met in the back of the ambulance, like, and we met working together and we both see eye to eye on things, right? Like, that's why we started. So, like, jobs like that, it sounds crazy, but it's like fun almost.
Yeah,
you have
definitely.
These super intense moments, and then it's just a good time that you get to talk about. Yeah, I mean, luckily the
person made it.
Made it.
And do you even? I think the other part of this is too, like, you never get to see this person again. Like, that was it. You know, in that moment, you all locked eyes, and it's like, don't let me die, and you are literally holding his life in your hands, and then 20 minutes later.
I'm eating
even
lunch.
to this day.
I'm eating dinner,
you're eating lunch and you never see this guy again.
Yeah.
Right?
I think if we really thought about it, I don't even remember like most of my patients' names. And if I saw him on the street, I'll be honest, maybe if I tried really, really hard, probably couldn't even identify his face.
Yeah. Because you're
just going
in the zone.
But it was in that moment that we shared probably the most vulnerable part of his life
ever.
And the most probably stressful part of mine.
And he probably remembers that. He probably remembers that to the T. Yeah.
And I kind of like, that's the downside of EMS, right? You don't always, there are some times where you get to see the person like years later or months later. And then there are times that you don't. I only know that this gentleman made it because the police had to stay with him until he came out of surgery. And I was friendly with the cop that was with me in the back of the ambulance.
They were able to let you know.
And he was like, hey, he made it out. He texted me, hey, he made it out of surgery. He's doing great. He'll be released in a couple days.
Wow.
The sense of relief
was
just like,
wow.
Thank God I did my job, and it just changes your perspective on life.
Oh, yeah.
Like you think every day is really hard and maybe you have like really bad days, but like,
it was never that bad.
It was never that bad.
I never nicked my carotid. Like
exactly.
It was bad, but it wasn't that bad. It makes you kind of reset and level set. Like, wow. Yeah, I get that.
I mean, tons of jobs like that. There's also jobs that are just silly and ridiculous and fun. And you have a patient that's like having a great time, doesn't maybe necessarily need us, but we still get
just want to see you. People, you still get to
hang out.
They like the lights.
Yeah, have a hangout and visit together. The sirens, makes them excited.
All right, so quick question: if you had to debunk something right now about just EMS work and being in, ambulance, what would you want to debunk right now? Something that people always say, and you're like, that really doesn't happen.
I think it's a lot of the stuff that you see on TV.
Which we're going to get into. It's a great segue. But
I think that a lot of people think that we kind of just are go, go, go all the time. And there are days that we are. And then there are days that I'm sitting in a truck for 12 hours at a time and it's 6 hours in and I'm like, geez.
This is going slow.
Someone take the phone off the hook? Like, what happened? I think that is part of, a lot of people think that it's always hot, it's always busy, and it is.
Because that's what the movies show.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and also on the TV, it shows that it's the worst job or the greatest job and the craziest job every single time.
Yeah, every call.
And it's not. It's not. No, I mean, there are some jobs that it's just super laid back. You're there because the person has no other means to get to the hospital and they're a little sick and they need to go and they go. Sometimes they call and ask some crazy questions, I've been asked to wash someone's feet before. I'm like, it's not really what we're here for.
It's not what we're here for.
Yeah, but those are the jobs that I think those are not exciting.
Yeah.
Why would they get shown on TV,
They're not. No one's going to talk about
it's
the
not
wash feet guy.
Yeah, exactly. It's not crazy all the time. It's not busy all the time. It's not every job is this high intensity, super like sweaty, insane, intense job. It's not always like that.
It's not.
No.
So that's what we want to debunk, that it's not always crazy.
It's not.
It's not always crazy.
It's not always crazy and scary.
It's not always what they
see. Yeah.
All right. So let's move into to a game that we call a flashover, right?
Oh, okay.
So we have a game that we call a flashover. So what I'll do is I'll give you two things, maybe Android and Apple, and you got to tell me which one. Okay? Right? And as fast as you can, tell me which one. But what we're going to do is TV shows.
Okay.
And I guess movies, but really TV shows, right? All right. So you'll tell me which one is better. So I'm pretty sure you've seen most of them. So now this show I usually do for like, firefighters and things like that. So I'm going to switch it up a little bit. I'm going to give you some of the EMT shows like that. Okay. All right. So Brianna, are you ready for the flashover?
I'm ready.
You're ready. Okay. Chicago Fire 9/11.
Oh,
or 911.
Chicago Fire.
All right. 911 or Third Watch.
Third Watch.
Third Watch. Okay. Third Watch or Trauma.
Third Watch.
Third Watch again.
Yeah.
All right. So now we got to do it. Third Watch or Chicago Fire. I knew we were gonna get her on one. All right.
I think Third Watch.
Third Watch still.
Yeah,
okay. All
still,
right. Okay.
yeah.
All right. So, but why? Like, what? When you see these shows, and before I even ask the other question, but when you see these shows, do any of them imitate what you do well? Is that why you picked Third Watch, or that because they imitate what you do well?
I think the camaraderie is showed really well.
Okay.
I think the aspect of like the family shows really, really well. In Third Watch. And in a lot of shows.
Okay.
I think that they show great scenes where like everybody's a big family, they're all happy, everything's good. And then they show like the tense and where it gets hard and like
we're humans.
Yeah. I think that, and I think that it all depends on like how realistic are we getting?
Yeah.
Like as much as Chicago Fire is a lot of fun, I'm not getting out of the ambulance and then like investigating or like following up, going to the house.
Not and all that. I'm not doing all of that.
No. And I'm also not like inserting myself in like every patient's business.
Yeah.
Like they do a lot of times. I'm not like.
But I guess it's TV, so that's why they.
I'm not sitting outside this patient's house that I was concerned about for the next 4 days and watching them. Like that just doesn't happen.
Not happening.
No, we're too busy for that.
You're too busy. You got other things to do. So really quick, I got a couple more questions for you, but just when it comes to your actual job of what you do, is there, so I'm looking at it like, for a fire call, we have different, assignments. You have your chauffeur, you have your officer, you have, I'm attack, I'm backup, I'm control. Do you have that like when you're back there, or is it just you're the driver, I'm in the back, and that's it?
No. It's more like it depends on the situation. I would say that's really what it is.
Okay.
So if we get on scene and there's a lot of people, like at MVAC, let's say it's me and 3 other EMTs and our chief shows up.
Where does it go?
The chief handles operations of the scene.
Okay.
He makes sure that we're safe. He makes sure that we have all the equipment that we need. He kind of like overwatches and sees what we're doing. I will say our chiefs are interactive, right? So if I'm in the back of the ambulance and I'm like, hey, I need this, I turn around and my chief is probably handing it to me.
Already there for you.
Yeah. But a lot of times it's almost seniority based, right? Or like the person that has the most time in EMS, depends on your EMT certification, if you're a paramedic or just the regular BLS provider.
So if you're EMTB, I assume that you want to be in the back of the bus. You don't want to have to drive. Like that's where you want to be.
Yeah.
I want to be in the back. So that's everybody. Like I want to be in the back. So if you got to drive, you got to drive. Now, when you're on your shift, is the driver always the driver, or you switch off each calls, or for the most part, I'm going to drive this shift, then you're in the back? Or you switch off?
We kind of switch off. It depends.
Okay.
Like if we get a call and it's me and 2 other people at MVAC and we're hanging out and I have the most experience, and let's say we're all drivers, right? I might drive to the call because I have the most time in the department. So like kind of like a chauffeur type situation.
Okay.
I'll jump in the driver's seat. I kind of know the area a little bit better.
Okay.
I know where I'm going. And I might have like the next person who has the most experience in the passenger seat, which would, I guess for you guys, be your chauffeur.
Will be our officer.
Or your
officer.
Will
be our officer.
Sorry.
Yep, that's fine.
Your officer. And then the other person would be in the back seat or in the back of the bus. And when we get on scene, it's a group effort.
Everybody's working together.
Everybody's working together. You're taking information. I'm doing patient care. You're also, the other guy's doing patient care. Like, we're a team. We work together.
Okay.
And if it's a little bit more serious, and like, let's say the person that was riding in the tech seat, so the passenger seat, has
so it's called the tech seat.
The tech seat. Yeah.
Okay,
the passenger would be the tech for the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got you. So then, is there a name for the person in the back?
No,
it's just the guy, the person in the back.
The third.
So it's the chauffeur,
crew?
the tech seat, and then the third.
The third in the back. Yeah.
Okay, got you.
So like, let's say that the person that was sitting in the tech seat, so like the tech for the day, the tech, would be like, "Oh, I'm not super comfortable. Like I'm a little nervous. Maybe the patient's a little bit unstable." And I would say, "Okay, do you want to drive? I'll take the call."
You'll take the call.
Yeah,
okay.
We can swap.
We can swap and kind of swap out and how you do it.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay.
I think it's all about comfortability.
Yeah.
And
then working together and doing everything together kind of.
Yeah. And being like self-aware. right?
Also knowing your team too, as the senior person there, knowing your team on who can handle and what can handle. No different from, when you're on the fire call.
Yeah.
No different.
I think it's a little different. I think once you get super comfortable, you're more eager to jump in the passenger seat and go.
And get it going.
I love that passenger seat. For me, I don't care how
seat is where it's at.
Yeah, I don't care how long I have. I'm finding somebody else to drive so I can tack.
So you can kind of tack.
Yeah.
All right. So last question that I have for you here is, just being in the volunteer services in a whole, right? How has it changed your life?
Oh, so much. I would not be who I am today and where I am today if it wasn't for volunteer EMS.
I love that.
I
love that.
I'm so grateful. It has really, I started off super young. Started off as 18, right? And that's a lot older than a lot of guys that join EMS or are in juniors or they join at, now you can be an EMT at 17.
Yeah.
So they're in high school. We have members that are in high school. Which is crazy to me, but is so great to see, like, that
they're starting so young and learning so young. So,
and you get to help molds the person that they are. The way that it for me has changed everything is I'm really comfortable in who I am.
Okay.
I think I was looking for a sense of being at 18, kind of didn't really know what I wanted to do, knew I wanted to be in healthcare, but didn't know what I wanted to do. And I think it gave me for a very long time purpose.
Wow.
I'm super grateful that I've met a lot of the people that I know because of MVAC and because of EMS in general. I know guys and women, not just guys, women that have been EMTs and paramedics, and they're old enough to be my mom and dad, honestly. And to hear what their life was like and to hear their stories and to hear how they grew up, and it's much different than how maybe I grew up, and we kind of they guide us in the right direction. Like, I love being able to sit down with our commissioners who are much older than me, and some of them, like I said, could be my dad.
Yeah,
and
but they're going to give you that
advice,
experience and that advice and things like that.
Yeah.
I love that. So last question, if there's someone right now that is listening that, wants to join, ambulance corps or become an EMT or someone that's an EMT now, they just started and they're new, what type of advice would you want to give them? Come down. Okay. Let's do a ride along. Oh, so we do ride alongs. Yeah, okay. Come down. We go. Let's show you a little bit of what we do. It's just, you only need a day. Once you see it, you see it, you're hooked, and you feel like the family. We come back, we crack jokes, we're making fun, we're poking fun. It's like a big family. Do it. Show up, come down, knock on the door. I will probably answer the door. There you go. She'll be right there. Yeah. Let me help you fill out an application online. Do it. If you're looking for a sense of purpose, if you're looking to give back to your community, if you're looking to get your feet wet to be in the medical fields, it's an amazing start. And it's the beginning of what could be the rest of your life. And it just changes your perception on everything. On life itself. Yeah. On life itself. I love that. I love that. All right. So before we get out of here, do you want to shout out like the Instagram or any social media for MVAC so people know where to go if they want to join? Yeah. So you can check out our website. Okay. We have a website. There's a drop down on our website that you can fill out an application. Okay. So it's going to be mineolavac.com. Okay. And then our Instagram is the same thing. I run it. All right. So you'll be talking to her. Yeah. Reach out. You can interact with us there. Okay. Our Instagram kind of highlights the importance of things. It's where you can catch up with us at our events. We have, PR events. We have events in Mineola. It's where you can learn more about being in an ambulance setting or in a medical setting. Okay. That's our start point, our Instagram and our website. Or if you're not 100% sure,
just yet. If you're like super comfortable being in the back of the ambulance and you kind of just want to chat more, you reach out to me on my Instagram. My Instagram is it's Brianna Marie 823. You could probably find me on MBAC's Instagram if you like look through the followers and stuff like that.
All right. I love that. Brianna, thank you so much for coming down. This is going to be a great show for the listeners. All right. We just heard from Brianna from the Mineola Volunteer Ambulance Corps about her life as an EMT. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Please like, share, subscribe, do all of those things. I am your host, Chris Moses, and please tune in next week to another great conversation in the Firehouse.